For 30 days, the war between the United States and Iran has been fought from the sky. B-2 bombers have struck deep inside Iranian territory. Cruise missiles have rained down on military installations. Drone swarms have targeted air defense systems across the country. But now, everything is about to change. The Pentagon is preparing for ground operations in Iran. This is not speculation. This is not rumor. According to the Washington Post, citing senior United States officials who spoke on condition of anonymity, the Pentagon has drawn up detailed plans for weeks of limited ground operations that could begin any day now. These are not contingency plans sitting on a shelf. These are active operational plans being reviewed at the highest levels of the Department of Defense. President Trump has publicly stated that he is not putting American troops anywhere. But here is what you need to understand. He immediately added a qualifier that sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. He said, and I quote, "If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you." That is not a denial. That is a warning. Meanwhile, the military buildup in the Middle East has reached levels not seen since the height of the Iraq War. 3,500 American sailors and Marines have already arrived in the region aboard the USS Tripoli. Thousands more from the Army's 82nd Airborne Division, the most rapidly deployable force in the entire United States military, are now on the ground at undisclosed locations across the Arabian Peninsula. And Iran? Iran knows exactly what is coming. Their leadership has been watching the same satellite imagery. Their intelligence services have been tracking the same ship movements, and their response has been chilling. They are waiting, and according to their own statements, they want American soldiers to come. Let us take a closer look at what is actually happening on the ground right now, because the scale of this military buildup is staggering. U.S. Central Command, known as CENTCOM, confirmed earlier this week that the warship USS Tripoli has arrived in the Middle East region. This is not an ordinary naval vessel. The USS Tripoli is an amphibious assault ship designed specifically for one purpose: launching and supporting ground operations from the sea. On board are 3,500 sailors and Marines, along with assault vehicles, transport helicopters, and every piece of equipment needed to conduct an amphibious landing. But that is only the beginning. Reuters is reporting that soldiers from the 82nd Airborne are now arriving in the Middle East. The 82nd Airborne is headquartered at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and it is designed to do one thing better than any other unit in the United States military: move into crisis zones on absolutely no notice. Within 18 hours of receiving orders, the 82nd can have a brigade combat team on the ground anywhere in the world. They bring their own command elements, they bring their own support units, they bring everything they need to conduct offensive operations without waiting for logistics to catch up. Add to that the 2,500 Marines from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit who arrived over the weekend. Add to that the bomber squadrons already stationed at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Add to that the missile defense systems deployed across Iraq, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. Add to that the special operations forces that have been operating in the region for weeks. When you add all of these numbers together, you are looking at more than 8,000 additional American troops arriving in the Middle East in just the past few days. This is not a routine rotation. This is not a defensive posture. This is the unmistakable shape of an invasion force taking its positions. The White House has been careful with its language. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt put it this way, and I quote, "It is the job of the Pentagon to make preparations in order to give the Commander-in-Chief maximum optionality. That does not mean the President has made a decision." End quote. But here is what you need to understand. When the 82nd moves, something is coming. The United States does not deploy its premier rapid response force to a region just to sit in barracks and wait. They are there for a reason, and that reason is becoming clearer by the hour. So, what exactly is the Pentagon planning? According to United States officials who spoke to the Washington Post, any ground operation would not be a full-scale invasion of Iran. It would not look like the 2003 invasion of Iraq, with columns of armored vehicles rolling toward Tehran. Instead, it would involve something more targeted, a series of raids conducted by a mixture of conventional infantry and special operations forces. Military planners have identified 3 primary objectives, and each one carries its own risks and its own strategic logic. The first objective is Karg Island. This is Iran's critical oil export hub, located in the Persian Gulf. Roughly 90% of all Iranian oil exports flow through this single island. The logic is simple. Seizing Karg Island would cripple Tehran's economy overnight. Without oil revenue, Iran's ability to fund its military operations, its proxy networks, and its nuclear program would collapse. But here is the problem. Military analysts warn that while seizing the island might be achievable, holding it would be incredibly dangerous. One former defense official put it bluntly. He said, and I quote, "Seizing it is not difficult. Protecting your guys once they are there is." End quote. Karg Island is small, it is isolated, and it would be within easy range of Iranian missiles, drones, and fast attack boats. The second objective is the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has effectively closed this waterway to hostile shipping. 20% of the world's oil normally passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, it is a war zone. U.S. Central Command has declared that any vessel entering the strait without prior coordination is subject to engagement. U.S. planners are considering coastal raids near the strait to destroy Iranian anti-ship missile batteries, drone launch sites, and fast attack boat facilities. These raids would be surgical. They would be designed to eliminate specific threats rather than hold territory. But they would put American soldiers directly in harm's way, operating in narrow coastal terrain where Iran has spent years preparing defensive positions. The third objective is perhaps the most sensitive. There is discussion at the Pentagon of operations to secure or extract highly enriched uranium from Iranian nuclear facilities. The concern is that in the chaos of war, the Iranian regime could race toward a nuclear weapon. Preventing that outcome by securing material would be a high-risk mission, requiring specialized troops trained in nuclear security operations. It is the kind of mission that planners spend years rehearsing. How long would these operations last? Officials are divided. Some say weeks, not months. Others estimate 2 months of sustained ground operations. Either way, this would mark a new phase of the war. In the words of United States officials who spoke to the Washington Post, ground operations would be, and I quote, "significantly more dangerous for American forces than the first month of airstrikes," end quote. Because on the ground, American troops would face threats they have largely avoided so far. Iranian drones designed to loiter over targets and strike with precision, ballistic missiles that can reach any location in the region, ground fire from Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps units trained specifically to defend Iranian territory, and improvised explosive devices planted in coastal terrain by forces who have been preparing for exactly this scenario for decades. Both sides believe they can win. Both sides believe history is on their side, but only one of them will be proven right. In the Strait of Hormuz, in the mountains of southern Iran, in the command centers of the Pentagon and the bunkers of Tehran, the final pieces are being put into place. The war has entered its most dangerous phase yet, and the next move belongs to the man in the White House. What happens next is anyone's guess, but one thing is certain: the world is watching, and the clock is ticking.